So Flux Federation, or Flux for short, is a Wellington-based software company. We create cloud-based software platforms for global innovative energy retailers to better serve their customers. Here in New Zealand, two of our key clients are PowerShop and Meridian Energy. So if you are with them, if they supply you energy, you are probably on our platform. Flux has three main products. First, there is the Flux app. This is what energy retailers such as PowerShop use to manage the entire life cycle of all their customers. So that's everything from onboarding them, billing them, loyalty, tenure, all the way through to offboarding them to another energy retailer. Then we have the web app and the mobile app. They are both customer facing, and they are what any of the energy retailers' customers use to log into their accounts and view all of their information.
What you can see here is a delivery flow. You hopefully start with the research phase, go through like a more defining phase, have an ideation session, then prototype what you think might be a good idea, and then go about building it and see if it actually solves the problem. We are actually really good at the last bit, the building bit, and that has to do with us being quite a young company. We just came from a startup 2 years ago, and so we are really good at delivering software in a really fast and smooth way. But it also usually means that making really good user experience is not this is not a really good space, or it's a bit hard. So it kind of means that we have to elbow our way into this whole flow and disrupt it now and then, so we can actually build more user-centric products.
So one of the first ways that we disrupt the delivery flow is back at the very start, just around the research phase, with what we call customers in the building. Customers in the building is exactly what it says on the tin. We bring customers into the building where we work. The reason for this is we get teams to meet them, to test things that they're working on with them. That can be anything from features that they're currently working on, or if they're considering maybe doing improvements on a certain part of one of the products, we bring them in, we sit them in front of customers, wonderful things happen. So on the UX team, we work closely with all the dev teams to kind of define the goals and aims of their research and testing, help them write questions and scripts. We help run the actual day, we help run the testing, and then we lead the analysis of findings. I guess the most important part of the entire day is that we are getting our developers in front of our customers. Nothing will create empathy more for the people who use your product like watching the people who use your product struggle with it. Your research and testing, it helps challenge our assumptions, and it really shows the people in Flux the value of what we do. It gives teams evidence and insights to base decisions off. It can help guide their workflow, and it lets them know if they're on track before releasing something out into the big wild world and crossing their fingers and hoping that it lands okay. So after we've done all of our research and testing and we've gotten some delightful insights, the next step for us is to spread these as widely as possible with the entire organization. The way we do that is with the Fluxtomer Digest. So, Flux, customer, Fluxtomer, see what we did, see what we did. The Fluxtomer Digest is a monthly editorial that contains, as I mentioned, insights from any research and testing that we have done, market-based customer statistics, and also an intro to a UX or design tool or technique. The goal is to spread what we know as widely as we can, and ultimately to help bring the organization closer to the customers it builds things for. We also sneakily use it to educate on UX and design, because why not? While the digest doesn't naturally fit into the delivery flow, it does influence it from the outside, with the hopes that when people people are just so used to seeing customer insights and knowing about their customer, they kind of self-disrupt themselves a little bit. Copies of the Fluximer Digest are available everywhere. They're on Slack, they're on our intranet, they're in everyone's email, they are in every single bathroom, which, by the by, if you ever need anyone to know something, put it in the bathroom. You're already there, you're already hanging out. You might as well read. We use the digest to make it impossible for anyone at Flux to ignore the people that they build products for. I feel like I've already said this. Yeah, as I said, with the hope that they will take that on board and start making really good decisions about it. The next thing that we do, or my next favorite thing that we do to interrupt the delivery flow, is journey mapping. Generally at Flux, it happens kind of after research when we're kind of defining a problem and in and around the ID phase where teams are kind of coming up with different ways to do things. So a journey map is a visualization of the experience a customer has with your product or service. We use these quite a lot at Flux, partly because I love them, but also because the teams find them super useful. They're a really good way of understanding a technical process and how that process interacts with the actual humans that surround it. Journey mapping is super collaborative, and depending on what experience you're drawing out, in your session, you may have people from all over the organization, so you get to map and silo bust at the same time, which are two of my favorite things. So maps give us a visual of what we're doing and a shared understanding of where we're going forward. They disrupt the delivery flow by putting a customer lens on how our product works and visualizing the customer's experience alongside the technology. And speaking of being alongside the technology, that is where Tina lives.
I was actually very lucky because in the past 2 years, I was working at Flux. I was part of a lot of different teams and different people, and some might not actually be that much exposed to working with design, but they are all very, very lovely and open-minded people. So I was lucky that we could all try new things and try new ways of working together. And sometimes it's also important because the project just needs different things. So yeah, I would summarize there are like 3 things that I want to share with you that I find very valuable. I think a very clear example is mocking up something, making a prototype. So at the end, we don't need to build it to figure out, oh, it didn't work, and we can just save money doing that. Draw like a diagram while we're talking and showing relationships, showing context. And that will help people to stay focused. It will help to make sure that we kind of minimize the gap of misunderstandings, because we'll find it easier to talk about the same thing if they see a picture in front of them. And even like owning a terminology piece is actually quite good, and it's something you can push as a designer, so that when you kick up of a new thing or a new project, you all know you talk about the same thing. I'm not sure if you ever experienced that, but sometimes you go into a meeting and people think they talk about the same thing, but it's actually not the case. So that's really something that will help on the long run. So I just want to make sure that I'm at least part of the ceremonies. So we have daily stand-up where we all talk briefly about what we're going to do, review sessions where we talk about what didn't go that well. And even if I'm not physically there, I can make sure I'm at least part of the ceremonies. So this is a sprint board, kind of a to-do list that we have in the team. Things go from what we want to do to doing and done, and we all have our little avatars that we put against them. Sometimes I just put myself there, and then people will be reminded that they have to consult me when they work on a certain piece of work. Last but not least, making the development team owning the problem, not just the solution. What I mean with that is that Instead of just having people like getting the things that we all thought about and just building it without being really in this whole process, just take them and make them part of this whole process of finding or defining the problem and thinking about the solution. Because it will create ownership for that and motivation. It will also give you an early buy-in. So people who are championing these solutions, they will also understand what actually it is about. Other people might have other considerations. So a developer might just be what might be very important for them to write good code that matches with the code base. So getting them involved in these early phases just makes them also aware about that. And otherwise, it's just really good to have a different lens in these early conversations and getting, for example, feedback on technical feasibility so we don't end up running into a wrong direction.
I guess at Flux, we're very aware that we are on a journey. These are just some of the ways that we have worked to move forward on that. We don't do this by ourselves. We have a whole team. We all kind of work together to kind of move this forward and start embedding design in the organization. On the way, we have learned a couple of things. The first being, it is not always easy. Breaking into a well-defined and well-understood delivery flow has many challenges. People have to be willing to change how they work and also change their mindset sometimes on what design is and what it can bring. We're quite lucky in Flux that we have the support at an executive level, because without that, this would just be impossible. It would be too hard. Sometimes you have to pick your battles, and sometimes you just have to walk away from a situation and live to fight another day. It keeps you on your toes. You need to be ready to grab any opportunity that you can as it comes by, and that can be as simple as having an informal chat with someone in the kitchen while you're making coffee and just, subtly explaining why design is brilliant. Or my personal favorite, which is putting a decision maker in front of a real life customer. All of the comms between design and delivery needs to be worked on kind of constantly. Be proactive about it. Start building it into how you work with the teams that you work with. Talk about how you want to communicate. Let them know what information you need. None of us are psychic. We don't know any of this, so you might as well just say it out loud. And the worst that can happen is someone involves you. So yeah, talk more, share more, make decisions together. It is always better to over-communicate than it is to under-communicate. And last, but probably most importantly, we have not solved this. How design and delivery work together in a seamless flow it's a huge issue that most software companies have. I'm pretty sure Google still have this issue, so we're all sweet. But yeah, as I said, we are on a journey in Flux. We know that we have more work to do. What has worked for us may not necessarily work with you, but again, just grab your opportunities, make it up as you go along. It's all sweet. The one thing to remember is when disrupting the delivery flow, it is a long-term investment, and it's a long-term investment in your company, in your product, and in the happiness of your team. And ultimately, it is about building a better product for the people who use it.